President Trump has told the BBC that the King and Queen's upcoming visit to the US could absolutely help repair relations between the two countries. Our North America editor Sarah Smith rang the President on his mobile, and Donald Trump talked to her about next week's state visit, how he views his relationship with Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer and the Iran war. The President takes calls from journalists on the understanding that a recording isn't broadcast, but we can report what he said. Sarah is at the White House tonight.
Yeah, so I phoned the President on his mobile phone. It really is just as simple as dialing the number. It's very informal. I hadn't made an appointment or an arrangement with the White House in advance. I just called the mobile number, and with no ceremony at all, he answered it himself. President Trump picked up the phone and he just barked, "Hello." He was extremely happy to talk about the upcoming royal visit. He's obviously very excited about hosting the King and the Queen at the White House. He had plenty to say about what he thinks Sir Keir Starmer is getting wrong in the United Kingdom, and he had some very optimistic, I would say, claims to make about his progress with the war in Iran.
Donald Trump is very unhappy with Sir Keir Starmer and the UK. The previously warm relationship has been ruptured by the war in Iran.
Good morning, Mr. President. It's Sarah Smith from the BBC here.
In a phone call with the President, I asked him about the upcoming royal visit. King Charles will be visiting Washington next week.
At a time when relations are difficult with the United Kingdom, do you think King Charles can help repair the relationship?
Donald Trump said, absolutely, he's fantastic. He's a fantastic man. Absolutely, the answer is yes, I know him well. I've known him for years. He's a brave man and a great man.
And here I am.
Donald Trump has been highly critical of the Prime Minister recently, attacking him for failing to offer more assistance with the war in Iran. So what might it take to patch up their former friendship?
You said on Truth Social the other day that Keir Starmer had plenty of time to recover. What did you mean by that? Can he recover his relationship with you?
President Trump told me if he opened the North Sea and if his immigration policies became strong, which right now they're not, he can recover. But if he doesn't, I don't think he has a chance.
Well, look, I'm the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and I make my decisions based on what's in the British national interests, and not what other people say or do. I'm here to serve the British people, always to have their interests, and to make sure that I make the right decisions for them. That is why I took the decision that we would not be dragged into the war in Iran.
Vessel Majestic X, we intend to conduct...
The US Defense Department has released these pictures of the American military stopping a tanker ship it said was transporting oil from Iran. US forces can be seen descending from a helicopter and boarding the ship. Mr. Trump says he's also ordered the US Navy to shoot to kill any Iranian boats laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. Sounding remarkably optimistic about the progress of the conflict, President Trump told me, "The other side is dying to make a deal, so whatever I'm saying or whatever I'm doing, it seems to be working very well." Later in the Oval Office, he said again he thinks Iran wants to reach an agreement.
They want to make a deal. We have been speaking to them, but they don't even know who's leading the country. They're in turmoil. They're in turmoil, so we thought we'd give them a little chance to get some of their turmoil resolved.
Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has also released video of what it claims to be its forces boarding and seizing two commercial vessels in the Strait of Hormuz on Wednesday. Armed, masked men can be seen speeding toward a container ship and climbing up the hull, in footage that appears it may have been staged. Both America and Iran are intercepting international shipping despite the extended ceasefire. President Trump is so bullishly upbeat about his progress in the war. Why, I asked, is he so angry about the lack of support from allies like Britain? He told me he didn't need help from the UK, but it should have been there, and it was a test to see if the country would get involved. A test he clearly thinks the United Kingdom failed.
Well, let's get the thoughts on that from our political correspondent Nick Eardley at Westminster. I mean, Nick, will Sir Keir Starmer be concerned at all by what President Trump has been saying about him there?
Well, Jane, there's no doubt that the Prime Minister has been more willing to disagree publicly with President Trump in the last few weeks, most prominently over the war in Iran. And you heard in response to Sarah's interview a pretty robust response from the Prime Minister, actually saying that he does what's in the British national interest, not what other people say or do. That sounds like a message to President Trump. It's very different from what you would have heard from Keir Starmer a year ago when he was building up that unlikely friendship with the president. However, I do think number 10 will be pleased at what the president was saying about the King's visit. That's one of the main reasons it's happening, because the royals are seen as a key part of British diplomacy. The president has made it clear that he's a big fan of King Charles, and there'll be plenty in government hoping that that can mend some of the special relationship.
All right. Thanks, Nick. Let's get some closing thoughts from Sarah Smith as well. Are you getting any sense in Washington, Sarah, of essentially how the Iran war ends? What happens now? What did the president say that means things are any different?
Yeah, well, so when he was talking to me, he said basically that he's pretty confident that that the Iran war will be settled in his favour, that he'll get what he wants because the threats he's making against Iran mean that they want to do a deal. And he was asked in the Oval Office just a little earlier some more about that. And he says the only stumbling block he can see is that the Iranian government isn't united in its own position, and so they're finding it difficult to negotiate with them. And he repeated again that they had destroyed the whole of Iran's navy, the whole of its air force and its air defences. But he is being very optimistic there about that, about the idea that Iran is ready to do a deal in haste. I think this is going to take a lot longer than he is currently giving the impression he thinks it will take, and that may be because he knows the war's unpopular with American voters and he doesn't want to tell them that this could last for weeks or months to come.